We are live on Facebook and waiting on our guest. I'm going to put on, oh, wait a minute. Okay. Hang on one sec. 1 second. Let me just get this. Right. This is our fourth show of the day, and we're going to have another one tonight, an hour after this one's over. It ought to be real interesting and fun, as this one will. Let me just send this link over to him. Wait a minute. How's it going, everybody? Well, let me get situated here. We'll be on with Brian in just a second. As soon as this computer catches up with what we're doing. I don't know if the electronics are a little bit in a funk or what, but something's going on all day long. Maybe there's a inordinate amount of stress or use on the internet. All right, 1 second. Let's see. Hang on. Can't see anybody yet. Let me go ahead and turn that on. Let's see. Come on. If these shows resonate, please share. We're getting hammered by Facebook's algorithms or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what's taking so long, but it's taking a while. Got 24 people in the house. We're waiting. Let's see. Oh, here we go. All right. Let me just get this over to him. Man, crazy. Paste. All right. Boom. That should do it. For some reason it's not. Try again. Thank you for your patience, everybody. Do appreciate it. All right, here we go. Yeah. Okay, so he's on. He's ready to go. He'll be here in a second. How's it going, everybody? Got 30 people in the house. These shows resonate. I already said that. I'm losing my mind. Okay, let's see. I'm going to share this around a little bit. And how's everybody doing today? Hope everybody's doing all right. All right, all right, all right. Okay. I'm on restriction. Can only share to 10 groups. That's all right. Better than nothing, right? No worries is right. Carl de Gerano. All right, so we're going to skip the intro. Oh, he might be here already. Hang on. Brian, yeah. What's up, Gaia man? I have to get you on here, man. Reach out to Morgan if you want to collaborate. Long time no see. Compadre. All right, let's see. Start video. What's going on, Brian?
Hey, aloha, man. Good to see you, brother.
It's good to see you. What's going on in Lemuria?
so much strange stuff going on. So much strange stuff. I'm watching the circus, breathing deep, and helping the people that come to me.
Isn't it a circus?
Yeah.
I don't know why anyone would think that it's anything but a gift. All of this is a gift. Life is a gift. Living is a gift. Breathing is a gift, you know?
Yeah. Well, the reason why so many people see it as not a gift is the sources of information that they're tapping into, you know. are quite positioning it otherwise.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. And I did a Soulogy newscast yesterday because I got tired of hearing that, you know, about the two things that are most talked about now, you know, which one is obviously a fear-based program, and the other one is a salvation program, which is still rooted in fear, because why would anybody need salvation unless they were, feeling like they were in danger or something, or somebody was working, I mean, it's all the you, me, we, and it, isn't it?
Yeah.
But even in the literal aspect, and so I made this broadcast yesterday and said we're not going to. This is the first and the last time we're going to talk about these two issues on Soulogy. Period. Boom. It's done. But regardless of what the subject on the top on the surface is, and you have to pardon me, this is my fourth show of the day, so I'm a little bit.
Wow.
But like, from a human aspect, we don't even know what lies beyond those that we can see and we attribute to being at the top of the pyramid or at the highest level of secreted esoteric knowledge. I mean, this is disclosure. This is apocalypse, defined in the dictionary, is an unveiling. And first and foremost, like everything else on this trip, it's about me and you. It ain't about nobody else. Yeah. Everything else is a distraction, right?
Yep.
So anyway, yeah. So this isn't a normal talk show. This is a conversation. You're welcome to ask any questions as well. And I just want to say thank you for coming on and honoring us with your presence, sharing space with us. So I know you, without having talked to you, and I didn't have a lot of time to, and I don't normally do it anyway, but I was looking for your picture and your bio, and I couldn't find anything. I couldn't get the picture to come down. So I was like, you know what? It's all perfect. But I can tell that you've been in the game for a while, quite a while. So when did you wake up?
I woke up at 3, and then I held quite a bit back in that moment of 3 at 3 years old when I realized a very unusual gift that looked like a curse for most of my life. And then in 2011, January 3rd, 2011, I snapped completely out of it. And just, this idea that all is one and we're seeing our own creation it went from being a theory or a bunch of ideas or something that I occasionally tap into ever-present experience.
Mm.
Yeah.
And this was at 3 years old.
Yeah, I saw it and I tapped into it at 3. For a little bit of clarification, at 3, around 2 or 3 years of age, I noticed that I had the ability to look at a person and, so to speak, there's no words in the English language to explain it on purpose.
Yeah.
But I had the ability to look at a person and see through them mentally, emotionally, physically, and and to know exactly how they were holding themselves back and what they thought, what they felt, what they believed, what they knew, what they were feeling, and how they were holding themselves away from their freedom. And I strangely had, beyond my 3-year vocabulary, I had the ability to do it and tell them. I had the ability to actually do it. So I did that for the next 46 years, basically either pissing off or scaring the hell out of everybody that I met. So my gift was really a curse, and more importantly, I couldn't see how to use any of it for myself. So my life was, I lived in hell for 46 years, man. I mean, hell with a capital H and both L's capitalized. And then in
how about all the letters capitalized?
Pretty much. The E was silent, hell. And then in 2011, after I lost everything for the 7th time, I had reached this point where I knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that I was responsible, but I looked for the life of me. I couldn't see how I was doing it. And I finally, man, 30 years, I had spent 30 years working on myself, hundreds of thousands invested. I was a musician and I quit listening to music. I just listened to personal dev and spiritual stuff day and night. I listened literally to Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, all the leaders. I listened to them. Went from the time I went to sleep, I would put on one of their recordings to loop, Don Miguel Ruiz. So day and night, I was involved in personal dev for over 30 years. And my life got worse and worse and worse until that moment when I just gave up and woke up and stepped
at 49. At 49.
Yeah, I was, 49 was, 46 was actually the last moment for me. That was when I
2011? Was it 2011?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when it hit me, 2011. 27 May, late May 30th, 2011, 1:11 in the morning.
Wow.
But it was the same kind of thing where from that moment, as painful as it was, I knew that I was responsible for everything,
Yeah.
And that's, you say that to people, and that's one of the things, people, they might come down with like with a severe illness or something, or disease or something, and then somebody comes along and says, hey, well, you're responsible for creating that, and they're like, hey, you know what, F off,
Right.
But I mean, It's one of those things that you really have to experience, I guess, like everything. But one of the things I got to give you big props on right now is, and I'm sure you must do some type of energy work, or you work with people, you have clients. Yeah. And, I think like the end of last year, toward the last 3 months of last year, there started to be a pretty obvious change. And one of those things was kind of the dissolution of the yogi guru template, let's just say, as people were coming into their own power, and it kind of changed things. And it was interesting watching that, but listening to you being so open and upfront from the get-go. I helped people for years. They didn't always take it, with a cube of sugar, but at the end of 48 plus years, I realized I hadn't done it on myself. Yeah. And that's a powerful statement and a very humble statement. So big props on that, man.
Well, thank you. To clarify a bit, I knew I was screwed up. I was convinced that I was too broken to be able to fix, basically, after 30 years of working on myself. So to go back a bit, my dad was super angry, 6'4", redheaded, angry Irishman who had just left the military. He married a woman with very low self-esteem who would marry such an angry, pissed off guy. And my mom had 2 kids from previous marriage, 3 and 5. So I got born into this hell where I had a mom that had honestly no love to give. I mean, she meant well. My God, that woman meant well. And she just had no love to give. My dad was pissed off all the time. These other 2 kids weren't his. So I bore the brunt of his fury. And my brother and sister saw me as coming through him. So they hated me. So there was no light in that house. And there was no religion, no spirituality, no warmth, no escape. So I just lived in hell, getting the crap beat out of me for the first 17 years of life. At 17, I got in trouble with the law. So from that moment forward, I got involved with self-help at 18. Yeah. And I literally, self-help and spiritual development was not a luxury for me. It was life or death. Like if I didn't get my life to work, fortunately I had a child when I was 23. My first son was born. That is the only thing that kept me from killing myself, because for the next years, suicide was a glorious, radiant option, considering I couldn't get anything to work, man. All my self-help investment, all those hours, life just got more and more complicated, more and more difficult, and everything got worse. So honestly, I pat myself on the back for getting up 7 times after seven times beaten down. And I kind of don't, because I didn't have a choice. Suicide wasn't an option because I love my kids too much. And I knew there was no escape button to get out of this video game. So, man, my only option was to keep doing the inner work until something cracked.
So, I mean, fascinating. Yeah, I have a lot in common with you. I would have never done it either. I've thought about it many times. I actually wrote several different letters saying that I would, but I only just wrote them for myself. which was okay till somebody found them.
Oops.
They're like, "You're suicidal." I'm like, "No, I'm not." Like, well, we found these letters. I'm like, "Oh man, that just, how do you explain that to somebody, right?"
Oh, that
But
was the other me. I'm fine.
yeah, but a lot of people that come on this show have a story that's the same, and I was aware at a very early age. I kind of went, got older, and typically it's late teens, early 20s. I went to sleep. I entered the matrix or whatever, and then some successive traumas came around, and our memories from being traumatized came to the surface, and something pushed me, circa 2012, give or take a year or two. So and being also the golden child in the family, the one that was totally different than everyone else. So it sounds very similar to a lot of these stories. Do you? I mean, just give us an idea. Now are you an energy practitioner? What type of work do you do with people?
Man, this is where you might have to rein me in a little bit. My answer to this, I have explained it for the last several years as this. Out of all the anomalies, I'm the weirdest anomaly yet that I've seen. Um, for some reason, the huge majority of people that come to me have been working on themselves for decades, and I'm kind of the last resort. And
Kind of like a copy of you, huh?
well, yeah, and yes, and this is where it gets weird, man. And I want to give a disclaimer, okay? Because
Mm.
my unlike a lot of people, I don't believe our ego is a bad thing whatsoever. It gives us when it's pure, it gives us the ability to perceive that we have a separate point of view, and I have no problem with that. It was when the ego was driving, that
Yeah.
there was quite a bit of mess, right? So sometimes when I say this to people, I've seen a tendency with some of the people in my audiences, people in the work that I do, that they hear like a cockiness when I say this, or they hear me comparing myself to others, and I'm not. I am talking about only results,
Mhm.
nothing else other than results. So, I can be on a session with a group of people, and I'm having a conversation with one of them to
Yeah.
help them with an issue. And somebody who's watching, they all know it's only one of us here. Their scoliosis they've had in their spine for 30 years, that they've done every treatment, every shaman, they've done ayahuasca, they've done every type of energy healing. And while I'm talking to them, their spine straightens out. Or while
Yeah.
I'm talking to them, the tumors disappear out of their body. I've never claimed to take credit for it. I don't use the word healer
Mm.
like most do. I somehow have the ability to look at someone and communicate with them. And if they want it, their entire thing, I call it, rather than solving a problem, I call it dissolving the illusion of problems.
Yeah.
Their whole thing, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, physiologically, comes undone all at once through conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, you know what? I'm a big believer in that. That's what I love about this show, and I say it on the show every few shows, but our highest activations, downloads, transmissions, channelings come from having conversations. It's almost like, um, it's almost like when you're in a conversation and there's a natural, relaxed flow and nobody's, trying to, has an agenda or trying to one up, the stuff that we've all been guilty of in the past, whatever. But when you're just having a conversation, I got to believe, because of the openness, there is also a high potential or an increased availability of the code I might possess that you might need, and the code you possess that I might need. Something happens, and it's not it's not necessarily done consciously, but yeah, I think and then some people, I mean, let's face it, we've all got a piece of the puzzle. We've all got certain skills, certain abilities, and so on and so on. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Now, one thing that you haven't mentioned, and not that it's right or wrong, I'm just curious as how your story unfolded. Uh, did you at any time develop a communion or a relationship with certain faces of the universe? and or did you have visitations or apparitions or anything like that along the lines?
Oh, wow, man. You're the first person that's ever asked me that question. And I'm glad you did. It just, this opens another angle here. So I have, I had a bit of a religious background only because at 18, when I started down the health path, I basically said, what is there that claims it's going to make me make life work? And one of the things I was offered was, well, go to church. So I went to a few different churches, and because I was desperate, I didn't just buy the bullshit. I listened carefully for congruence between what was being said and what was in their book. And so I did have some concept before of a God external to me. And when I had my awakening experience, it was actually the opposite. And this is another one of the things that sometimes some people hear me or mishear me when I say this. I met the reality that it is 100% all me, but not Brian, of course, that it's literally all me. I'm the tip of the iceberg of the only one that's here, like everybody else is. I just notice a little bit of a weirdness when I communicate with other people who do similar work, that here's a couple flavors. One flavor is, it's not me, it's God doing the work. That's one flavor. Another flavor is the idea of being part of a collective. Another is, what is my spiritual lineage? I don't have any sense of any of those things. I have the sense that I've gotten enough of Brian out of the way, and what Brian thought he was and was programmed that he was. I've gotten enough out of that out of the way, that the one that is just is, it's me. Yeah. With a capital M, doing everything. And I'm enjoying the show, participating in the work.
Yeah. Now, what did you mean about, you said, okay, so you were 3 years old and it took 40 something years for you to get to a certain point, which I believe what you said was at that point, you started to either apply it to yourself. Well, you were already applying it to yourself. You started to have success in some way. Something broke through. Yeah. I mean, but all in those ensuing years, you were assisting other people, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So yes. Have you seen a difference post the breakthrough in the energy of the work that you do and the connections that you create through your practitionership?
Yeah, it literally, it exploded into an entirely different realm. Like, and one side story, it's partly, you could almost say that if you took my life after that awakening, if you didn't look at any of that, the story of my life before that was a guy who came through with a gift to help people in radical, profound, outrageous, miraculous ways, and who had no filter, and he did it for everybody without waiting for their invitation or permission. And then one of the things he woke up and realized was, don't help anybody who hasn't asked for it, and to you and me today, and to a lot of people, that they're like, oh, that's duh. But there's a lot of things that are duh that we don't see until we do. And that's so right. The bottom line for me, and coming around to that answer, is if someone asked me today, Brian, you have 30 seconds to say, how do you get the results you get? I'd say, I unconditionally love you. And if you want help and you're not resistant, this unconditional love is going to dissolve whatever there is. That would be an oversimplification, but true.
Yeah, we had a couple of weeks ago, like in a period of like 5 shows, there were 2 shows. And I'll just use the word healers, because we can't get stuck on the semantics.
Yeah,
but I mean,
yeah, of course.
So, but they do, and we have a lot of people that are practitioners. But these 2 people, there was one woman and one man, and they both kind of said the same thing. And they basically said that when they do what they do, they don't even think about what they're doing. They basically go to a place, and it doesn't matter what that place is. That place could, be whatever. One said, I go to the 6th dimension. And so once I'm in front of the client, I go into the 6th dimension. I have no questions. I have no thoughts running in my head. I simply immerse myself in this unconditional love. A lot like what you're saying. So they just basically create this charge or this frequency and then that frequency impacts the client who has the intention, obviously, first being open, and then to be brought into further alignment. So it sounds very similar to what you're saying. I don't think you're egotistical at all, and I think you're actually very upfront about how this all happened and how human you actually are.
Yeah, I agree with some people, for their own reasons perceive it that way. I got to say this, Todd, because the way you just described that, I'm going to tell you what you just said that person does. That's what I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't go there. I just, it's 24/7 with me.
Well, what struck me about those two comments, and there's no coincidences, the way everything is sequentially laid out. It's like reading a book, right, which is one of the gifts of doing this show for me. But what struck me about it was, because, like you said, it's not words. There are no words. You can't really name all that stuff. It's more of a sensation or a feeling or a knowing. But to try to put it into words, it was like, at that point, I kind of went into a further realization or alignment or understanding, which was that space they're talking about is really our natural state. I mean, that's like, if we can just dip into it, put your foot in the water, go in a little deeper the next time, and any situation that you're in, no matter what it is, go into that space and just hold that frequency. And just like the lady described, she doesn't ask a question. She just goes into the space, and what she needs comes. And I think that's kind of where I'm going with it. Does that resonate with you?
100%. And you just gave me one of the clearest, that mirror right there kind of clears the way for me to say, basically what I do is I help people to go there until it becomes second nature, at which point they realize it's their first nature. Like that's what I'm actually doing, is helping them to step into that place. But it isn't actually stepping into it. It's actually letting go of everything that was holding me seemingly out of it. Paradox.
So and of course, one of the reasons that I love having these conversations, because I've watched it for so many years, the effect it has on people. And one of the things, especially now, there's so many people that are waking up and they are having, paranormal experiences or visitation or epiphanies or downloads, and they're shitting their britches. Like, what's going on? But and so they can learn something from people like you, through more, in my opinion anyway, from the story you have, from the experience that you've had. Yeah. Do you ever get knocked off your square? Do you ever get triggered? Do you ever get affected by the collective energies coming down? And if so, how do you come back into balance?
Okay, I love the question. And to answer it, I'll go a little bit to left field and then just zoom right back in. So
that's okay. That's the way I operate.
Perfect. So I will say this, that when I was living in hell and I did all the inner work that I did, I would have occasional milliseconds of hope and love and brightness and, oh, this could work. And then gradually that became a few seconds here and there. And then when I had that awakening moment, 2000, I cannot say it wasn't this. There was not a move like this where it went out of bounds. It was a tiny smidgen of improvement, so to speak, in my life. Mm-hmm. That then decades passed with me agonizing here, and then that shift happened. Well, ever since then, I have continued to, my focus, you could say, is a Bible verse just popped up into my mind, and wisdom is wherever you find it. So there's a verse in the Bible that says, may everything be shaken that can be shaken, so that only that which cannot be shaken remains. And my kind of, I don't really do mantras, but if I did, my mantra has been, since I was about 18 years old, my mantra has been, let everything that isn't me fall away and dissolve back into infinite possibilities, so that what is actually the infinite unlimited me is the only thing left. And with that, ever since that moment, man, it's milliseconds a day that I'm bothered by anything. Yeah. because I choose presence. Eckhart Tolle is like this incredible teacher of presence, right? And that's his gig, man. That's his thing, is presence, teaching presence. And I love him. I love his work. I love everything he's ever put out. And I don't see him necessarily focusing on helping every person who finds his work to here's how to become present and stay there. It's kind of sprinkled through. And that with my work with people, I'm constantly aiming at 100% absolute limitless presence. So the people that come to me, that's what I'm helping them to do, is just open into infinite presence. And from there, very little, only your deepest stuff can ever even, quote, trigger you. And when it does, if you're cultivating breath and presence in a way that keeps you present, guess what? When that stuff arises, you meet it, you walk right through it, you dissolve it, and it becomes your resources, and there's nothing to be upset about.
Yeah. I like that. And I like the fact that, what you're saying, or what you're, between the lines, or what I'm picking up on. So like, my wife always says a copy is a copy is a copy, right? So if I look at, say I'm coming in to do a session with you, and your approach, it's almost like your field, that field, that state that we were talking about a minute ago, is made available to the person. That person gets to see it, which is really, they're looking at a mirror. Now, whether they can sustain it or not, that's another question, whatever. But the bottom line is that it gives them a flash of that. And not only may it be for the specific thing they were going to see you about, but it really applies to everything, doesn't it? I mean,
oh my God.
And not to mention, when your field reaches that point, the things that need to be shaken are going to come up in the natural course of things. And I got to say one other thing. So what you were describing to me about when that happened in 2011, which was the same year happened to me, you're so right. And I want to say this, not just for the people waking up, but I'm going to say this for the people that have been woke up. And I'm going to put myself in that category. I'm no different than anyone else that think they're awake, because there is no end to this. And that is that it doesn't just flip. You don't just flip a switch gets flipped, but it ain't like, your life just turns into nirvana the next day.
That's right.
I spent a couple of years on the street when I woke up by my own choice. And there was a lot of trauma, like a lot of people have, and all that. And I walked a lot. But something happened the day I decided to leave that house, leave my life, with a couple of suitcases, and just start walking. Something happened, like something in my soul happened. It didn't mean that the human journey was going to be, peaches and cream every day, but everything that came, really didn't really knock me down, and if it did, it wasn't very long. So I think that's something we all need to remember. This is not about, getting out of here, jettisoning out of here. It's really, we're not going anywhere, so to speak.
Yeah. That the Kinsho or Satori or a moment of awakening. So I just had this kind of a cheesy and yet very effective analogy come through. So commencement at the end of education, which I won't get started on, but at the end of education, they have commencement. And the ultimate cliche to be spoken at every college commencement is this: you think this is the end, but commencement means the beginning, right? Well, I'll say that Kinsho or Satori, the moment of awakening, is not the end it's the beginning of waking up. And for some reason, Todd, and this is that thing. I'm not paranoid. I'm just so gentle when I say these things, because there are a lot of people doing inner work, and there are people who still have competitiveness running in their software. And so when I say some of this, some people just get a little bit perturbed, and I love you. If this perturbs you in any way, I love you so much. Later, maybe you'll thank me for perturbing you. Perhaps. I see that the huge majority of people who come to me literally are the most advanced spiritual successes and practitioners. From the very beginning, when I started this as a business 9 years ago, 40% typically of my quote audience clients are law of attraction experts, coaches, healers, therapists, energy workers, leaders of different things like Landmark. Those are the people that come to me hurting the most and who are the most frustrated about the fact that all that they've done, their deepest issues are still untouched and they just can't figure it out. And what you said, what sparked me saying this to you is what you just said about the mirrors. And I'm telling you, I've had some great interviews, man. I've had some great conversations. You're landing on the target more so far than anyone I've ever talked about. And so we were just talking about the effect that I have of going into that I stay in that space that some people go into. I live there. And then you said mirrors. And so in 9 years of now touching about 120,000 people, I've done thousands of one-on-one sessions. I've worked with billionaires. I've worked with homeless people. And what I constantly hear is, Brian, I got bigger, deeper, farther, faster, deeper, and longer lasting results here than with anything I've done. And then they ask me, what do you do? How do I explain it to my friends? And the best analogy I've ever come up with is we're all mirrors made of light. And you kind of alluded to that. There's only light. This universe is only light arising from an illusion of darkness. Therefore, everything in it isn't things. It's lights condensed into mirrors reflecting light off of everything else. So we are, in a very literal sense, we're mirrors made of light. Each one of us mirrors to each other. And the vast majority of us are kind of like twisty, warped carnival mirrors from all the trauma that happened. So we've walked around in our life in an endless carnival of mirrors where one makes you look fat, one makes you look but then you get close and and somehow I seem to be, to the people that report back to me, I seem to be a much wider, flatter, taller mirror that is more buffed out, and that I'm not reflecting back their beliefs about themselves or their beliefs about what's bad and wrong. And that presence reflected in them makes them go, wait, holy shit, I feel more peace than I've ever felt. I feel more clear than I've ever felt.
That was pretty good, whatever you did. Look, I thought you were going to go into a seizure.
Well, I'm just watching what the people show me and reflecting it back.
So, just to get a feel for, and I think I already know where this is going. So like if I had some, or so if I came to you and I had, an issue with something I wanted to create. Let's just say I wanted to create something, and I'm in that, whatever. I'm in that 40%, whatever. I've been engaged in whatever. Is that something that can be brought into alignment? Or are you dealing more with what the human aspect might say, emotional or physical issues along those lines?
It's literally everything. So I'll give you a typical, just to show how there aren't any typicals. So someone comes to me and says, hey, Brian, I've been having this issue in my relationship, and it's, let me back up for 1 minute. I've spoken, I've done live events in many, many countries. I've done many live events here in Hawaii with small to large groups. I've done webinars with hundreds, webinars with tens. And one of the main things that I do is and this will put it in context, about every 90 days or so, I start a group that's my paid work. Okay. So out of my audience, whatever, I'll make an invitation. I'm going to do the next 90 days. I'm going to do a Zoom video call with an orientation session, and then 12 weeks of sessions where I'll come on, I'll talk. And then I call my work spell breaking, dissolving the spells that we're all programmed with: mental, emotional, physical, paradigms, beliefs, the whole 9 yards. It's not any one part. And then, so X 30 to 80 people will join that program. And then for the next 12 weeks, I'm doing sessions. one of the things that I discovered that I got to say to answer that question is, when I work with a group, I might have 100 or 600 people watching live, and I might have 30 or 40 on the video call with me. You know how Zoom, you can have up to 25 on the screen, right? And I'm working with one person, but everybody knows from the orientation session, whoever I'm working with, if I'm working with Todd right now, the only person I'm working with is the person who hears my voice and sees my face. So they all play as if I were talking only to them, right? Because I am. There's only one of us here, right? There's only one being here. All right. With that said, they'll tell me the first 4 words out of the introduction to the preamble they were going to tell me about the story and the issue that they were going to help me with. And I'll say, okay, you want to continue with the story, or do you want me to help? And then I'll help. And then when we're done, I've helped them to undo many, many things beyond eclipsing, transcending, and surrounding the issue they wanted to help with, without hearing what the issue was that they wanted to talk about. And it's always mental, emotional, physical. We dissolve the trauma, we dissolve the inner child, the quote, there's all these different approaches, shadow work and inner child work. It's all happening simultaneously with me just by conversation. At the end of it, the physical thing's gone, the emotional thing's gone, the beliefs have changed themselves, and they've aligned that part of their lives with what I call the level 5 paradigm. Oh yeah, everything's energy, everything's perfect. I don't actually have an issue here. And usually the people around them that were associated instantly start to act differently, because they realize I'm the one projecting this entire thing, right? You and I know this, and some of my spiritual friends, well, the vast majority of my spiritual friends, frankly, agree mentally with all these concepts without actually living them 24/7, and they're damn frustrated about it. So
I think this is a good example of I agree with you. I agree with you. I think for one thing, we can only see how far, we can only see what we can see at the level that we are. So then when we have an expansion, the cycle continues. We have an expansion, we see some things we didn't see before. But I guess what I'm getting at is, given this, I'm trying to be hysteria. It's, you said at 3 years old, you were given a blessing. It was a burden, and then, the burdens can be the blessings, right? You know what I mean? And so it's like, this is a blessing. We have all should have figured out by now that anytime things get a little chaotic, I mean, we're in the womb of Mother Universe. But to your point, and I get what you're saying, the talk only goes so far. And, to be able to consistently apply it, I think is part of what's happened, what I referred to last year with the whole Yogi Guru thing kind of falling away, is that it's and I've seen people come on the show and talk about their transformation and the total, the total transition or elevation of their modalities, of their processes, like I don't do this anymore. Now I'm doing this, how they've adapted and modified that shows growth. And I get what you're saying though. And you're not throwing rocks at anybody. This is a reality, and part of our transition is having to walk the talk and cut the bullshit, and it's just me and the universe in this game, nobody else here anyway. You know what I mean? So, but to get, so like now I'm just trying to understand, because you said at 3 years old, you could see in people where they had holes or they were misaligned or whatever. Is that something you can still do when you work with somebody one-on-one?
Yeah, it's I basically can't not do it 24/7. I look at people, and it's as if okay, in the Matrix, once Neo started to wake up, there were moments when he could see the code, and then at the end he saw the code. It's almost as if I look at a person and I get the readout. Okay, and I can see not only what all there is, I see actually the priority at which those items would need to be addressed in order for the person to be free.
Yeah. So like, I mean, like if this were me and you could, or do you have to be in front of the person? I mean, can you actually, can you do it like in this situation here? You know, like if this was a private scenario.
Yeah, I will say this: I've had phone calls with people
Mm-hmm.
where when I began this as my business, so I've been doing it all my life. 9 years ago, when I decided, decided that this was my business, this was what I was going to focus on. The first thing I did was reached out into a group of people, and I offered 20. There was a big Facebook group that I was involved with. I offered 20 free 1-hour phone consultations, and I was going to help them solve a life issue. And at the end of the hour, if I didn't solve the life issue, we're just better friends than ever. And if I did, they were going to give me a testimonial. And I ended up with 20 testimonials. And so I've done dozens of phone conversations. And with a phone conversation, I invite the person to start to tell me what they think their biggest issue is. And the second they start talking, I've read their mail.
Okay. So in other words, they have to initiate something, and then you pick up on it.
Yeah. And it can literally be, it often is literally 3 or 4 words. I mean, it's kind of crazy. The people watching me do it are like, okay, what the hell? There was no way you knew. Like, what did you? It's not possible. But it's just automatic for me.
Yeah, and so that's interesting. So I can relate to that a little bit, mostly in my old life, because I used to get a lot of trouble for it too. Because I was a senior executive, and the people will come in and say, "I've got this problem." They get like 4, 5 words into it, and I'm like, "Okay, here, boom,"
Right.
It seemed almost insensitive.
Right.
I can't say I'm not really a practitioner, so that really doesn't apply to me. Or maybe I don't know, maybe I shut it down or whatever. But so they basically, I guess the energy of their intention, of their telepathy, of their thoughts is projected out. You pick up on it immediately, process it, spit it back out, and read it
instantaneously. And because, okay, so with the people that I work with, they've read my book or they've seen enough of my videos, and they come on with me. If it's a first session, I always preface it by saying, do I understand? 2 questions. Number 1, do I understand correctly that you've got an issue you've been dealing with and you're done with it, you're ready to be on the other side of it? Yes. Okay. Then the second question I want to ask is, understand that if you and I were having a beer by the seaside, if we're sitting in a tea house, chilling out, I'm never going to interrupt you. I'm going to listen till you're done. However, in this work, I'm probably going to interrupt you every few words to prevent you from doing to yourself what you've been doing. Are you okay with that? And then if they say yes to that, they expect it and they welcome it. They know that I'm doing it with the intention of loving and help. So it's a different thing. Yeah.
So you're pulling them out of the story. You're not allowing them to go back into the loop. You're pulling it out. Stop. Let's go. Boom. So in other words, like if for instance, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just saying.
Please do enjoy. I'm all. We are the spot, baby. Bring it on.
Okay. So all right, we'll do this. All right. So let's see. Okay. So for a couple of years, for several years, I downloaded this 24/7, 365 universal cast, multiple channel, handheld accessible network, And for a couple of years, I've been trying to put it in and stop, start, And I know I take responsibility for it. Now, you said something, the 2 prerequisites, the first one being the person comes to you and says, I've had enough of this. I want to get on the other side of this.
Yep.
So as an example, you don't have to go into it full blown, but just as an example so people can understand, because somebody's already made a reference they want to know too, actually, how to book. I want to get over this. I want to get to the other side. I want to manifest this or throw it in the trash bin and move on forever. Right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're getting from them when they come, right? They want to get on the other side of it and put it to bed one way or the other.
Yeah.
So then where do we go from there?
So what are you experiencing that you don't prefer in this scenario?
What am I experiencing that I don't prefer? The lack of the fact that it hasn't been physically because it has been etherically, but it hasn't been physically manifested. The fact that it hasn't been physically manifested is not something I prefer.
Okay. Do you perceive that you are the one who will bring it from etheric to physical manifestation? Is that something you want to do?
Is that something I want to do?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
So then, do I understand you're inviting me to dance with you and reflect in the way that I do? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure. So the invitation.
Absolutely. I'm open.
Okay. All right. So the first thing that I want to underline is that you said you want it to manifest. It hasn't manifested, as opposed to saying I haven't manifested it. So if you want to play along, close your eyes and just feel your chest, your heart, your shoulders, your body. Feel your belly. Feel your guts, and then allow yourself to say, while you're feeling your body and breathing, right? Just say it hasn't manifested.
It hasn't manifested.
All right. Feel everything that's going on in your body, your mind, especially physicality. And then, if you will, just say, up until now, it hasn't manifested.
Up until now, it hasn't manifested.
Okay. And just breathing and feeling for differences in your body, different sensations. And then, if you will, say, up until now, I perceive that it hasn't manifested.
Up until now, I perceive that it hasn't manifested.
Okay. Now, a lot of curiosity, a lot of breath, and if you will, play along. Just let yourself have a little chill, like a shiver that runs from your spine, from your tailbone up, just a little, like as if you just had a little jolt, little chill. Okay. And then if you will say out loud, up until this moment, I haven't chosen to take the action to bring this into physicality.
Up until now, I haven't chosen to take the action to bring this into physicality.
Now feel how light that is, and feel how clean and clear that actually is. It's the only fully true statement that's really been said so far, because to say it hasn't manifested, when you believe and perceive that you are the one to bring it into physical manifestation, and you want to, when you say it hasn't manifested, that lets you slip unknowingly and undetected out of your power. It hasn't manifested. Not my fault. I got nothing to do with that shit. You should have seen it not manifesting over there by itself. Rather than I haven't
manifested it.
Right. And so what? Let's do one last sentence, if you will. Eyes closed. And if you'll just spit the words out with no thought about right or wrong or anything else, just if you'll let the words fall out of your mouth. I'm a little bit concerned, and you're just going to finish the sentence. I'm a little bit concerned that if I were to take those actions.
I'm a little bit concerned that if I were to take those actions.
Yeah. You're going to finish that sentence. So I'll say it again.
Okay.
I'm a little bit concerned that if I were to take those actions.
That's interesting. I'm a little bit concerned if I were to take those actions.
Don't evaluate. Don't think.
Oh, I'm not. I just don't have anything coming up. That's why I said it's interesting.
Nothing. Okay, good. So let that curiosity cook. And that right there, just that one thing cooking. I'm a little bit concerned that if I were to take those actions. Okay. So we'll do another sentence, and I'll start it. You just finish it with whatever words fall out of your mouth. Perfect. I haven't taken those actions because.
I haven't taken those actions because I'm waiting on other people.
Okay. So there may be other roles for others to play. Is that possible? Do you believe you?
Are there roles for others to play?
Yeah. Do you feel that there are other people to take?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Have you communicated with them proactively about what you want to bring into?
Yes. Yeah.
You have? Okay. And they haven't moved on it yet.
Well, we had a few false starts. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Okay. Now let's go. You want to continue the dance?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So
I think are you guys good with this? I think they're good with this. Yeah, they like this.
All righty. Beautiful. So eyes closed, if you will. It just lets you tap more into the rest.
Yeah. I'm good.
Okay. All right. So if you will Feel this time, feel your body with total presence. Feel every cell, feel your stomach, your gut. If you are so inclined, you can tap into your chakras, not necessarily really just the physical bridge. And then feeling your sensations as you say this phrase, we've had a few false starts.
We had a few false starts.
And let yourself really feel, because that's going to lead you to a whole lot of information. And then if you'll continue breathing deep and say, up until now, we had some false starts.
Up until now, we had some false starts.
Beautiful, man. I love your sincerity. Okay, so that little chill, that little shiver, just a nice little shake kind of helps to reset the system. Now feel your chest, your heart, your stomach, your intestines, your guts, your connective tissues. Feel the inside of your body with full sensitivity as you say, up until now.
Up until now.
I perceived that we had false starts.
I perceived that we had false starts.
But I'm not really sure.
But I'm not really sure.
It might have been something else.
It might have been something else.
Now, it's pretty much impossible for you to not feel a bit more peace, a bit more like a settledness, maybe a softening in the intestines and connective tissues.
Yeah, in the first round, I felt that.
Okay.
After the end of the first round.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact line of questioning. This was a similar line of questioning, but I remember the last, I think it was the last one the last statement before you had me finish a sentence that I felt.
Okay.
I felt like a lighter, you said you might feel a lighter thing, I felt,
Yep.
Oh, I see how you're doing this. Because the body, because when we started, there was a slight ache left on my body, left sacral, like I don't know where the appendix is, but like say to the side of the waist, right along the waistline on the left side.
Yeah.
And then the next one came and I felt like a lightness, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the body being the indicator, and like that one question you asked too, you said this should lead you to a whole bunch of a whole bunch of information.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that I'm totally cool with going as far as you ever want to go with this. And I will simply say that this curiosity. So I joke that my next book will be titled "The Power of Not Knowing," and that's entirely possible. But we know so much, and everything we know is going to endlessly manifest. It's going to endlessly show up in various forms that we don't recognize that as it reflecting what I know. We don't recognize it. So we try to correct it and fix it. We judge it. We figure this is wrong and this is bad. And if we didn't know anything, then we can be present to everything. And when we're present to everything, we don't know anything. We don't know that there's false starts. We don't know that I should, or that I feel this desire to bring this into manifestation, and I haven't. And if I haven't, then there is either a resistance going on inside of me, or maybe it's actually coming into being in a way that I haven't recognized. And if I feel any discomfort or any unpleasantness around it, finding and feeling that unpleasantness is the key. That's leading me right to where the quote chunk of energy is that I can feel and return back into infinite possibilities. And I'll tell you this much. I don't know what will happen next. I can only tell you that whatever little means, that little thing we just did is going to bring in light into spaces where you and you alone were keeping light out for reasons unbeknownst to yourself, using mechanisms unbeknownst to yourself. And we can obviously continue the conversation if and when you want.
I thought, well, it just happened. Right. But no, I get the main thing. The reason I went into it was to give people an idea, but yeah, I like the fact that you use the body. Oh yeah, because that is the universe, right? I mean, that's all the information stored in the body.
Yep.
And that's something that I really wasn't as I wasn't that well versed with until, maybe the last couple of years. But yeah, I know the body talks. There's no doubt about it.
It
So
holds all the wisdom. It holds
yeah,
all the wisdom we get. We're seeking wisdom. Hello, you're the fountain of wisdom. Stop
yeah,
knowing so much and let that shit come through.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So how do people get in touch with you? Where can they find you? And do you have anything coming up that you might want to, spread awareness about, and or anything you want to talk about before we head out?
Beautiful. Yeah. Yes to both of those things. The main two things. So number one is the best place to find out about me after about 6 years of doing what I do and being I'm fairly, most people consider me kind of high ticket. Like I'm not one of those spiritual people who believe spiritual people shouldn't make money. I don't buy that at all. And I made my work my what I am. So I give away more free stuff than anybody I've ever seen, and I have some paid programs. And after about 6 years of doing this, I had so many people ask me, could you put something together that's either really cheap or free that would like without holding back? So I wrote a book called Break Your Self-Help Addiction, kind of humorous there. The book, it sells for a few bucks on Amazon. We still give it away on my website. It's not part of the book, it's the entire book. So breakyourselfhelpaddiction.com. Maybe later we can add that link to the post. Breakyourselfhelpaddiction.com. You can get the book for free. It also comes with, at the end of every chapter, there's a video of me doing a spell break. So what I did with you was the tip of the iceberg of a fraction of one type of spell break. And at the end of every chapter, I'm doing spell breaks with people on their deepest issues with their
Mm-hmm.
permission, and so those videos are there. It's life changing. I get gratitude and kudos and people telling me about miracles every single day, just simply from going through the free stuff that I give away.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so there's that. And then the second thing, as far as I've got something coming up right now that is super near and dear to my heart. And I created a live stream that I'm doing this Wednesday called Dissolving the Global Fear Pandemic. And of course, this includes the CV word, of course it includes that. But I'm looking at, I was a conspiracy theorist for about 25 years until I realized I was a conspiracy factist, not a conspiracy theorist. And I've known about Agenda 21 and Agenda 30 and all these things that were going on that they aren't even hiding. Like, it's totally, the people who say they would never do that, it's on their websites. It's very obvious. And so I'm convinced beyond any shadow of any doubt that this entire pandemic thing is simply one aspect of the global fear pandemic. I'm not making light of it. I do remind everybody that it is only light. I'm not making light of it. It's just all light. And if we will tap in and dissolve the fear inside of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
it's projecting out as these nightmares. The nightmares cease to exist. So I just got this inspiration a couple of days ago on Wednesday, and I will share the link with you. If I can, I'll just share the link with you in the chat, perhaps.
Yeah,
And
or put it in the I try I did I tag you? No, I couldn't tag you. Wouldn't let me tag you. But yeah, I'd put it in the comments, and I'm getting a big validation. And in 25 minutes it'll be premiering on YouTube. So you could put it in the YouTube comments, you can put it in the Facebook comments, because people, you know how it is in the internet age, everybody, it needs to be user friendly, right? Where did you put that link?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that, and I could help if you want. We could add it to the post after the fact, and I'll certainly put it in the comments
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
And basically, I'm inviting everybody who has any either fear or concern whatsoever about the virus
Mm-hmm.
and all the things that it may be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, food, every transportation, economics, everything that's being affected, the global fear pandemic. I'm going to lead people through an experience to dissolve that fear inside of us so that we can erase a lot of what's happening on the seeming outside. And that's really near and dear to my heart. I see this as a really significant thing that can help a lot. It's the fastest thing I can do to help the greatest number of people at a time when I see a lot of fear. And I don't see that much, with all due respect, I don't see that much value at the core level in most of the solutions that I see people offering. So I want to go to the heart of this.
Right on.
Yeah, and that's coming up this Wednesday. So if they click on that link, they'll be able to go straight over and get notified and make sure that they're on live when I go live Wednesday with this.
Right on. Sounds good.
What
island are you on?
I'm on the Big Island. I just wanted to say, Todd, I really appreciate you giving the space for me to be able to share this with a greater number of people. That's what
absolutely
for these next couple of days. Hey, I want to take a liberty. There's no self-promotion in this whatsoever. Okay, so I'm just going to take a liberty, and if you got to cut this minute out, I'm not going to be uncool. Anybody who's watching this right now, if you will help me to get this totally free live stream that I'm doing on Wednesday, if you can help me get it in front of bigger and bigger audience, or if you know one person that'll help and you share it with them in Messenger, I would really appreciate that. And I believe they will too. The more people that are on this thing, the greater impact we're going to have.
Right on. It's all about intention. Absolutely. 100%. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence. Look forward to future collaborations down the road. And next time I get out to Hawaii, maybe we can hook up.
Come see me. Come see me. Come see me, brother.
All right, man.
Aloha, everybody.
Peace out, man. Bye-bye.